Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Arqit Quantum. This was a stock analysis request from one of the followers, and I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests and I'll most likely cover them, especially if there is an actionable trade setup to follow. And in the case of this chart, unfortunately we are dealing with a quite bearish structure. This is not necessarily a bullish actionable trade setup, but in fact we have a potential initial 5-wave move to the downside that could actually be tracked in more than one ways as such a movement. Now it doesn't need to be, and we could of course always see a breakout, but the probabilities heavily suggest in fact that we should be tracking rather this interpretation, where we would expect here to have at least an initial wave A down. We would be looking here at a correction within a wave B, and then a C wave to form the complete structure within this movement to the downside. And this would be a wave C if something more bearish isn't going on. But as long as we hold here below the 78.6% retracement, the $310 level, the probabilities highly suggest that we should expect further continuation lower within an additional 5-wave move to the downside. Now, be it a wave C or a wave 3, it is yet to be seen, and the structure that builds within this movement to the downside may give us some hints which one it is, but right now it is too early to tell, and to be honest there is no realistic confirmation that the movement has already started. Now the thing is, within this correction within a wave B, we have already reached perfectly into the 50% retracement before starting this additional reaction to the downside that could be indeed the beginning of the wave C. And could we extend higher within this wave B? Well, we certainly could. We could see something like a larger ABC movement to unfold that could realistically take us even to the last level of resistance, possibly even a week above it or something like that. But the structure doesn't need any additional movements to be considered complete, where in this wave A, we have an internal ABC movement, we have an ABC correction in wave B, and then we have a 5-wave move to the upside within a wave C, which has even managed to form an additional high and allows us to track very, very easily a full pattern within this wave B. And while of course it is possible to see extensions and even a larger uptrend to be forming, any long trade setup on this chart is a very low quality due to the overall pattern from a larger time frame perspective. Here we have a potential 5-wave move to the downside, then we have a 3-wave correction. Both are done, nothing is required. We even got into the area of resistance, and nothing is required for this wave C to have already started. Now with that said, we can track some relevant areas of support that could indicate, for example here in the white interpretation, an extension in the wave C in yellow. Could be part of something even more bullish, but I don't believe we should necessarily focus on such an idea. And then here I would use the $16 level, the last level of support, as a signal that this structure is even more likely going to form a direct breakthrough and head into the wave C to the downside. And are there interpretations that could allow even a break to new all-time highs? Well, of course there are, but they're just not necessarily high probability, and we could be tracking a couple of ideas in that sense. So we could be indeed tracking here an ABC movement within a wave 1 instead. A wave 1 part of a larger leading diagonal to the upside, where we would expect a wave 2 correction, although this would be an extremely low quality trade setup. And especially if we manage to form here an initial 5-wave move to the downside into such an area of support, we would rather be expecting after a 3-wave correction another 5-wave move to the downside at the very least. Within different patterns we could see a very wide range of scenarios play out, but all scenarios that suggest continuation to higher prices are low quality. They aren't necessarily a high probability interpretation, and they don't provide us an edge here within this market. Maybe if we track the areas of support, they can provide an edge when the structure is even more likely going to fail and extend lower, but unfortunately for trade setups to the upside for the long side, they are just not here for us. They should be used more as an observational tool instead. And are there even other scenarios that could allow extensions higher? Well, of course, this could have been, instead of a wave A, it could have been a wave 1. We could have here a wave 2, a wave A to the upside instead of a wave C, and then we would have a wave B and a wave C to complete a larger wave 3. And if we manage indeed to build such a pattern, we could be looking at something like a 1, 2, 3, 4th and the 5th to build a larger initial 5-wave move to the upside. And if we actually get such a movement while also breaking the area of resistance especially, we can instead start to consider a more significant bottom to already be in place and a larger uptrend to have emerged instead. But until such a pattern actually plays out, the long side is very low quality and there is a high degree of suggestion that we should expect continuation lower. Now, in the smaller time frame within this possible wave 2 correction in white, we could be looking here for a 5-wave move to the downside to be unfolding in very many different ways. So at the moment, even the idea of an impulse to form to the downside is actually possible, where this could be a double 1, 2, 1, 2 setup, a 3rd wave down, 4th wave up, and then a 5th wave that would actually still be expected to extend even lower. And yeah, there are also other interpretations that could allow extensions lower. And firstly, what I would be watching for in terms of resistance are here the levels between the $24.9 all the way up to the $29 level. Although I wouldn't necessarily look for a touch of this area of resistance for us to be able to continue lower, because there are interpretations something like a larger ending diagonal in a 1, 2, 3, 4th and the 5th that could allow a lower resistance area, but I could not be looking for a higher reversal, a push into higher prices above, yeah, especially this $31.7 level, the previous stop, the previous swing high within this pattern to the downside, without breaking the 78.6% retracement instead. And yeah, as long as we hold here below the $29.2 level, I'm looking with high pressure for continuation lower, again within multiple scenarios in fact. And then for a larger signal that we are looking for a significant breakout, I would still need to see here a break above the larger 78.6% retracement, where I could maybe even consider this to be a 5-wave move to the downside already complete in a diagonal structure. Not a preference for me, yeah, not a likely scenario for me. I would still heavily prefer continuation lower in a very direct fashion, but I would be here watching the $49.5 level, and this area of resistance would need to be adjusted based on the current low. Yeah, if we move lower within this structure to the downside, we would still need to move this resistance area along with it as it goes on. But for now, this is it. These are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.